as you were sharing that, a story came up for me. Is it okay if I share a story, like off the back of that one? I wasn't planning to, but I just love the story so much. And the way that I kind of see this event is, and how I brief the speakers is, you don't really need slides or read off your phone or whatever. It's like, how about we share stories in a circle? So as you're bringing up this story, it reminds me of a time when I went through some uncertainty. I think the whole world went through some uncertainty. You might remember it. We had this strange thing going on a couple of years ago, like around 2020, where people started like covering their faces and didn't want to touch each other or get too close, and deprived ourselves of our core human needs of connection and physical contact. It was this really weird thing. I was in Melbourne. I don't know whether you guys experienced it. Really strange times, and the government started using words like unprecedented uncertainty, and it got kind of scary, got kind of strange. And in this world where everything was uncertain, for the most part, a lot of people were like, well, he who speaks the loudest or with the most conviction will just do that. And it was the opposite to what Carl was sharing earlier. Being intentional with, what is it that I really want? Who is it that I really want to become? Well, I don't know, so I'll just do what I'm told. And it created a lot of difficulties and a lot of challenges. I was very grateful. This is when I started, just like a year before that, entering personal development and tapping into my values and how it is that I wanted to live my life and who it is that I wanted to become. So I was like, you know what, being locked in my apartment for 24 hours a day and not talking with anyone and living that life, that was not for me. And I had this opportunity. It was actually an opportunity with Josh. He's going to come and speak up here, our resident storyteller. I decided, you know what, maybe I'll move to Bali. And in the media during this time, you know what moving to Bali meant? It was death. Don't go out, that will be death. And what it was received with was a lot of shame and judgment. And it hurts, it's really fucking hard. But it was the question of going, well, do I conform to what somebody else wants or what I'm told is important and what I'm supposed to do? Or do I follow my mission of who I want to be and how I want to live, and in the face of the judgment and the fear and apparently moving to Bali was going to kill this little old lady next door and I was going to get sick and die. But I was like, all right, well, is it worth the risk? Sometimes standing on stage feels like it's going to be death, so why not? Let's go and do that. So I moved to Bali and I got there, and you know what? The restrictions during that time, this is what they had. Walking into a bar or a restaurant or a club, they'd ask you for your phone and they'd put stickers over the cameras, over the selfie camera and back and front cameras. And I was like, that's a funny restriction. Where I came from in Melbourne, it was like lockdowns and masks and social distancing and regulations of things that we couldn't do. And here in Bali, we just put stickers on the phones. And I guess my assumption was that as long as COVID didn't know you were there, you couldn't get sick. I was like, clever. Maybe the rest of the world should start implementing this. So we had a really great time in Bali. We lived the life. But shortly after arriving, and I did post some photos and I went through personal development. My life was going really great and I started getting some wins. People started asking me like, wow, you're so lucky. I was like, seriously, lucky? Luck? That's what you put it down to? And I realized in this moment that really, maybe I had been living my life previously to becoming aware and intentional and focusing on what was important, that a luck strategy was not going to give me the results that I wanted. And what a luck strategy is not having an intention, not knowing who it is that you want to become, not knowing what your values are. You're relying on like a leaf blowing in the wind. Maybe I'll end up somewhere, and it's good. And so these people that were relying on a luck strategy considered me as really lucky. And I was sitting there going, that was fucking hard in the face of the judgment and the adversity and the discouragement, everything else. And here I am living my dream, and you put it down to luck. That's cool. But I'm going to do something different. I'm going to start living by what's important to me, being really intentional, living by what's important to me. So I continued on that journey. And as a result, it was funny, a couple of months, oh, not even a couple of months on, it was like 6 weeks on, maybe two months on, somebody comes up to me and goes, Daniel, Like, how are you achieving while people are really struggling and having a challenging, tough time, which I respect a lot of people. That was a lot of the world, and I have a lot of compassion for that. But they're like, during this time, how is it that you're accelerating in your business and your personal development, who are you becoming, and having, it seems like, a better time than ever? It's like you become a serial winner. I was like, that kind of sounds weird. Serial winning. Creepy, I'll take it. I'll become a serial winner. And they asked me, though, how is it that you did it? And so, as a great coach myself, especially in performance, I believe not in luck. I believe in strategy. I believe in criteria. I believe in benchmarks. And then once we got that, developing the competencies that we need in order to make that success strategy work and get the results. So I was like, that's a really good question. I sat down, I challenged myself to figure out what led me on this path through the uncertainty to create the success that I was getting consistently. And I reverse engineered it. If you were here last week, we talked about journaling. And what I realized was I started using a journal that somebody gave me, and there was some steps in it that I enjoyed, and there was a few more steps that I added, and I decoded it. The one massive code within that was self-acknowledgements and acknowledging myself. We spoke about this last night, right? Rings a bell? And so this was what really allowed me to push through the adversity, to realize and to know not just who I was becoming, but what the competencies, what the characteristics, what the attributes of that person that I was becoming. And every day I acknowledge myself. This is how I'm showing up. This is how I showed up and at least attempted to become that person. Didn't always get it right. In fact, the failures were almost just as powerful as the successes, because what I learned was self-trust and that I could handle it. But I kept on doing it. And in 6 weeks, I became a serial winner, and people were saying, wow, how are you getting the results? And now I can share it with them. What I did is I developed a journal. And it was a journal that was, I called it the Parallax Transformations Progress Journal. And I made it as a tangible gift to give to my clients. And I gave it to them. I was like, here's the journal. It really worked for me. It helped. Here you go, use it. And you know what happened? It was incredible. It was a 3-month journal. You fill it out every day. There's 12 steps within it. And then what just lit me up so much inside that I was so proud of is they followed the system and they became serial winners as well. And not all of them called it serial winning. They thought it was kind of weird. I guess that was my title. But they were just like, oh my God, I'm getting the results that I've always wanted. I've accelerated the progress. I'm becoming more of who I want to become. And their life looked incredibly different. And so my offer to you is, if you want one of these journals, I've got one upstairs that I could show you. But if you want to order it from the United States, I sell them for $25. Let me know. Come and see me in the break, or go on my Instagram. There's a link tree and go and grab one. I wanted to offer it to you off the back of that conversation. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to pitch my journal. And uncertainty, stepping through the uncertainty and becoming who it is that you really want to become.